19. This is a tough year, man.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Listography. Welcome back to Albums of the Year 1967. I'm here with Joe and Jason. 65 and 66 were tough, and now, oh my God, it has gotten a lot tougher, at least for Joe and myself. 1967, a lot of people consider this to be the best year in music history or rock music history. Whether you agree with that or not, it is definitely a monumental year and how it's going to shape the rest of the genre. It's the summer of love, especially over in San Francisco. And for me, one word kind of defines this year. That word is going to be drugs. Timothy Leary's pumping out LSD. The Beatles are telling everyone they've dropped it, and they are ready to go. It's creating this really cool psychedelic sound. A lot of bands are fusing it with blues and jazz, and you're getting a really cool pouring out of great creative music. Over on the East Coast, you have just as much experimenting going on, but in a more nihilistic and avant-garde fashion with Andy Warhol and Lou Reed and Velvet Underground. That's going to kind of plant the seeds for proto-punk and punk coming up. Which is just going to branch off into more stuff. So this is a pivotal year, as well as a pivotal year for live music. You've got the Monterey Pop Festival. Pink Floyd does a show of quadraphonic sound for the first time. The Who are smashing their instruments. Hendrix got his guitar on fire. Man, there is just a lot of stuff going on right now. This is the year that kind of marks the birth of the guitar god to me. You've got Hendrix debuting. Jerry Garcia's been around for a while, but he's starting to get a lot of national attention. Clapton's rocking it with Cream, and the guitar is really becoming the highlight of the genre, if you ask me. On the country front, you've got guys like Merle Haggard pumping it out. Nina Simone with jazz is still pumping it out. But I think this is the year where rock really is starting to take over mainstream culture. A lot of people think that some of the all-time great classic songs come out this year, as well as a ton of great LPs. But you've got San Francisco by Scott McKenzie, Whiter Shade of Pale, Incense and Peppermint. You also got Respect, recorded by Aretha Franklin, who a lot of people, including Rolling Stone magazine, say is the best song of all time. Hard for me to agree with that, especially because she cut a single called Chain of Fools, which I like even more. There's so much going on. Counterculture and beatniks are taking over. This is also a great year for debuts. You've got Pink Floyd debuting. You've got Leonard Cohen. You've got Grateful Dead. You've got The Doors, Jimi Hendrix. Am I missing any more guys? There's so many that are put on the map here in 67. I don't know, but we were talking about how 65 and 66 were a little easy for us to make our list because the cream kind of rose to the crop a little more, but now it seems like there's about 15 or 20 times more stuff to go through, and there's just a higher volume of really good artists coming in. I've got my list rocked and ready to go, and I don't know about you guys, but some of the albums I had to cut for 1967 are devastating to me.
I didn't really have to make any really hard cuts until 68, so I got one more year where I feel pretty comfortable with the five I got.
All right, Jason, let us hear it. What do you got for 67?
So I've got another country album on my list this year, probably the last time that's going to happen for a long while as we get into sort of the rock and roll age. But I'm going with Don't Come Home A-Drinkin' with Lovin' on Your Mind by Loretta Lynn. I'd venture to guess that a lot of our audience, based on the content we put out, are not country fans. If there's anyone out there, though, that wants to dip their toe in the water, I'd recommend checking out I Really Don't Want to Know. Great vocal on that song. Also a runner-up in 67 for me. I'm going with Songs of Leonard Cohen, the debut album by Leonard Cohen. Then I'm going to go with an artist, probably in my top 10 favorite artists of all time. Will probably start cropping up on quite a few of my top 5 lists here in the next decade or so. Going with Pandemonium Shadow Show by Harry Nilsson. Then I've got Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band as a runner-up. And my number 1 is going to be Magical Mystery Tour.
This is the second win and 5th nomination of the Beatles by Jason.
I thought I was switching it up on myself here, and then I went back and checked the tape of the original listography I did, the first video on the channel, and I had them in this order as well. So I just think song for song, I think Magical Mystery Tour is a little better. It might be kind of cheating since it's not really a studio album. It was originally released as 2 EPs in the UK. Then they tacked on Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields for the US LP release. And man, it's just a super solid track listing. I mean, you've got basically that double A-side single. You've also got Hello Goodbye, I Am the Walrus, Magical Mystery Tour, Your Mother Should Know, Baby You're a Rich Man. It's just wall to wall. And I mean, I guess you could make that same argument for Sgt. Pepper's, but I just like Magical Mystery Tour a little bit better.
Man, I mean, speaking of psychedelic drugs, I did not see that coming, Jason. Did not see that coming at all, especially over Sgt. Pepper. But yeah, very nice list, very nice list. Joe, what do you got?
Well, Jason just completely stole my thunder, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's go through the 4 runners up. Sgt. Pepper, one of my runners up. I think it's really good, but it slightly pales in comparison to another album released by the Beatles in the same year, even though it's not really an album. And I struggled with putting the other album at number 1 because, again, it's not a real album, but I think track for track, it is superior to Sgt. Pepper, which might be sacrilege in some places, but not apparently in this chat right here. For the rest of the runners-up, I have Are You Experienced, Jimi Hendrix's debut. I think one of the great debuts of all time. He comes out with Purple Haze as his opening track on the album, just ridiculous. Hey Joe, maybe my favorite cover song of all time. Foxy Lady, it's just pretty much wall-to-wall classic guitar tunes, half of which you can probably hear on the radio at any time on any classic rock station. Hendrix is also one of my favorite guitarists of all time, and I think this is probably his best record. Also on my list, The Who Sell Out. I think maybe their first truly great kind of Who album. My Generation was raw and kind of punky. This shows the growth, the studio work of Pete Townsend. I think I Can See for Miles is maybe, the first great rock track that isn't blues influenced at all. It's very kind of modern, I guess, for the time. Also, probably the album that most people haven't ever heard of, Walk Away Renee / Pretty Ballerina by the Left Bank. I think one of the forgotten kind of masterpieces of 60s Baroque pop, kind of similar to maybe the Zombies, but they wouldn't come out with Odyssey and Oracle till the next year. So that brings us to number 1, Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles.
This is the first win and 4th nomination of the Beatles by Joe.
I'm with Jason on this. It's superior to Sgt. Pepper, and it's cheating because it's not technically an album. They didn't go into the studio thinking, we're going to put these tracks together in this listing. But, songs like Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane. It's my favorite side of McCartney, the sort of observational pop songs that he was really good at, super poppy. And then pair that with, I think, John Lennon's most psychedelic work, Strawberry Fields Forever and I Am the Walrus in particular have always been favorites for me. So Magical Mystery Tour, that's 2 for 2. Can it be 3 for 3?
I doubt it.
Huh. Well, I thought this drastic differences between us would come out in many more years. We're pretty close to the 15 different albums we were talking about coming up. So I've got Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane, their Satanic Majesty's Request by Rolling Stones, and it really kills me not to have Leonard Cohen's debut. Those are all my outlier albums. I've got Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band as a runner-up. My other runner-ups are going to be The Doors by The Doors, The Velvet Underground and Nico by The Velvet Underground, and Chelsea Girl by Nico. But my favorite album of 1967 is Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix.
This is the first win and 1st nomination of the Jimi Hendrix Experience by Kramzer.
To me, this album, everything Joe is saying is right. I love this album because I think this might be the first pure hard rock record ever recorded. You can make arguments that the roots of this have been around. The Beatles turned it up and the Kinks were kind of there already, but This is just straight up kind of in your face. No one had really heard much that was this heavy, this much attitude, and at times even kind of fast. We can talk for hours about Hendrix as a guitar player. I'd like to talk a little bit about Mitch Mitchell and how good of a drummer he is on this album, especially on the song Fire. I mean, what a just kick-ass, just thundering, vigorous performance on the drums. I mentioned Guitar Gods in the intro to this video, but it's definitely drumming is starting to go a different path. It's getting kind of wild. You've got him right now with Jimi Hendrix and Experience, Keith Moon with The Who, Ginger Baker and Cream. Just a really good beginning of rock and roll drumming as we know it. So much good stuff on here. You've got Red House, Hey Joe, Purple Haze, Manic Depression. It's this perfect just blend of kind of like acid and blues and showmanship, but I think the songs don't get enough credit of being really good cuts, really well-written rock songs. So to me, this is the number one album of 1967. Jimi Hendrix with Are You Experience? Yeah, it was a tough list, but I think that's the one that stands out the most. I don't think Jason could be more disappointed with my choice, but
it's your choice.
Thank you, Jason. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Please comment, let us know what you think of our list. Give us your list. Are there any monumental albums that we missed out on? Let us know. Don't forget to hit the bell. Please subscribe, comment, and thanks for tuning in. We're here for Albums of the Year with Listography, and we will see you guys next time.